Mesdames, Messieurs les professionnels des médias, Mesdames, Messieurs, je vous souhaite la bienvenue à cette conférence de presse. Tant vous qui êtes dans cette salle que vous tous qui nous écoutez à travers les ondes de la radio Guira ou alors en ligne. Et nous vous souhaitons une bonne après-midi. Alors, c'est toujours un immense plaisir pour nous de nous retrouver ici ce soir et de vous retrouver donc pour cette conférence de presse qui est exceptionnelle. Nous avons l'habitude de la tenir les mercredis, mais cette semaine, c'est jeudi et c'est dans l'après-midi. Exceptionnelle parce que nous avons l'insigne honneur d'accueillir Madame la sous-secrétaire générale des Nations Unies aux affaires humanitaires et coordinatrice adjointe des secours d'urgence, Madame Joyce Msuya, qui est en visite en République centrafricaine depuis le 11 octobre dernier. Il s'agit d'une importante visite dans la mesure où elle est la toute première depuis quelques années, depuis 4 ans au moins, donc d'un haut responsable de la coordination des affaires humanitaires dans le pays. Alors, Madame Joyce, depuis son arrivée, a rencontré les plus hautes autorités centrafricaines, dont le Premier ministre, chef de gouvernement, a rencontré aussi les acteurs humanitaires, l'équipe pays des Nations Unies et la MINUSCA, notamment la représentante spéciale du secrétaire général des Nations Unies, chef de la MINUSCA, Madame Valentine Rugwabiza, le 13 octobre dernier. Et depuis son arrivée, elle a aussi fait le tour de plusieurs préfectures ou bien de plusieurs villes du pays. Je lui laisserai le soin naturellement d'en parler elle-même, au cours desquelles elle a échangé avec des acteurs humanitaires, a touché du doigt les réalités et les défis, et aussi les contraintes, les difficultés auxquelles font face les populations. Comme j'ai dit tantôt, elle en parlera elle-même. Et je voudrais peut-être rappeler, et je crois nous avons eu l'occasion de le dire dans nos conférences de presse précédentes, la place qu'occupe le soutien, la facilitation de l'assistance humanitaire dans le mandat de la MINUSCA. C'est dire si ceci contribue naturellement aussi à la mise en œuvre de notre mandat. Donc, sans trop tarder, je vais donner la parole à Madame Joy Msuya pour vous faire le point elle-même, comme j'ai dit tantôt, de sa visite.
A spokesperson. And I really want to express deepest thanks to all of you journalists for responding to the invitation. You have such an important role in actually speaking for the voiceless, especially vulnerable women and children living in rural areas, but also in different parts of the country. This is my 5th day here in Central African Republic. As my colleague mentioned, I've had quite a productive visit so far. I spent the last 2 days in Zemio, short stop in Bria, and then spent a day in Birao. And I thought maybe I can share a bit of my reflections, what I have observed over the last couple of days. One is I have been very touched and pleased to see the generosity of Central African communities that are hosting refugees that have crossed the border to come and find refuge in this country. I have also seen unimaginable pain and suffering, particularly amongst women and children. When I sat down on the ground talking to IDPs, I'm a mother, and mothers who have just continued to move from one location to another, running away from conflict. And even in places where they have landed, whether it was in Zemio or Birao, not able to go to the farm because, again, they are scared that they will be attacked on the way. Yesterday, I spent a few hours with Sudanese refugees in Birao, a community of 16,000 Central Africans hosting 27,000 Sudanese refugees. 56% of those 27,000 are women and children. And I have seen pain. Yesterday was a different level of pain. Women whose limbs have been cut, and yet they traveled with their injuries to car because it's safer here than Sudan. And they were welcomed by the host communities. And through that, they recovered their injuries and they shared with me. And women who are deaf, who could not speak, cannot hear, but they ended up here. So it was painful. It was unimaginable losses, especially in some of the IDP camps where I interacted with children who were carrying other children on their backs. And these were orphans who don't know their parents. They were lost and they ended up in IDP communities. I have been deeply touched by the commitment of humanitarians on the ground, local, national NGOs, and some international NGOs who are doing so much for the communities at their own risk and with huge funding cuts globally that is happening. But yet they have not left the communities. I recognize that even though humanitarian needs in this country are still high, 37% of people in need of humanitarian assistance here. But there has been progress. When I was in Bria, I was briefed the number of IDPs had gone down. And part of the reason of this improvement, a bit of humanitarian situation over the last 2 years, is because of improved security and stability. And for me, the lesson there is if there is security, if there is stability, returnees, Central Africans who have crossed the border and left the country can come back and contribute to economic activities, but also rebuild their communities. In my entire conversations, whether it was with IDPs or refugees, when I asked them what are their aspirations, what would they like to see from the international community, most of them appreciated the work and the support they have received, whether it's shelter or a place to go and get water, but almost all of them, they wished for peace, for security. They wished for their children to go to school, for pregnant women to go to hospitals and be serviced, which is an area usually serviced by the development sector. And the lesson there for me is the role of the humanitarian assistance is to complement the development assistance, because we cannot afford to let the lives being lost or the orphans that I hugged feel helpless. One IDP woman told me my visit was like a therapy for her. She felt she was not left alone because we were there just to hold their hands and to listen to their stories. Part of my job is also to take what I have heard, particularly the aspirations around the development sector, and to engage with development partners to see how their efforts could be scaled up to support the areas that we have visited where humanitarian resources are concentrated, but they're not enough and they're not responding to the aspirations that the populations have. Listening to local authorities, listening to IDPs, listening to refugees, there is one ask which came from all the groups. Please improve security, please improve security, please improve security. Why? Because even for IDPs and refugees, they are seeking dignity, dignity that comes from being able to go to the farm and plant the little they can do to feed their families. So the importance of security is one that was emphasized by all. I have also renewed appreciation of how difficult it is to deliver assistance and how difficult it is to access the communities that have gone through so much. A key part of the outcome of my visit is to advocate for more support or for CAR, humanitarian assistance, to tell the world, let us not forget about CAR. This is a forgotten crisis and a missed opportunity in many ways. And I will take the messages, the voices, the pain, the tears that I saw in IDPs and refugees with me and really say to myself, are we doing enough for them? Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.